Alright, Travis Wingoodsell. I'll do a video before I go to bed and then upload it for you tomorrow morning. In the Doctrine and Covenants, section 84, starting in verse 44. For you shall live by every word that proceedeth forth from the mouth of God. For the word of the Lord is truth. Whatsoever is truth is light, and whatsoever is light is spirit, even the Spirit of Jesus Christ. And the Spirit giveth light to every man that cometh into the world. And the Spirit enlighteneth every man through the world that hearkeneth to the voice of the Spirit. And every one that hearkeneth to the voice of the Spirit cometh unto God, even the Father. And the Father teacheth him of the covenant which he hath renewed and confirmed upon you, which is confirmed upon you for your sakes, and not for your sakes only, but for the sakes of the whole world. For the whole world lieth in sin, and groaneth under darkness, and under bondage of sin. And by this ye may know they are under the bondage of sin, because they come not unto me. And whoso cometh not unto me is under the bondage of sin. And whoso receiveth not my voice is not acquainted with my voice, and is not of me. And by this you may know the righteous from the wicked. And the whole world groaneth under sin, and darkness even now. And your minds in times past have been darkened because of unbelief. And because you have treated lightly the things you have received, which vanity and unbelief have brought the whole church under condemnation. And this condemnation resteth upon the children of Zion, even all. And they shall remain under this condemnation until they repent and remember the new covenant, even the Book of Mormon, and the former commandments which I have given them, not only to say, but to do according to that which I have written, that they may bring forth fruit, meet for their Father's kingdom. Otherwise there remaineth a scourge and a judgment to be poured out upon the children of Zion. For shall the children of the kingdom pollute my holy land? Verily I say unto you, nay. Notice, you don't just say the saying, do the doing, but you fruit the fruiting. You don't talk the talk, you don't walk the walk. You be the being. You become the being. That is the Mormon doctrine in regards to the faith process. And specifically, he's trying to talk about how the church needs to pay attention to the Book of Mormon. And starts in the beginning that by hearkening to the Book of Mormon, you are filled with light. Because it's true. And so, what then must we do with the Book of Mormon? We have to do according to that which has been written. We don't just say what is being written in the Book of Mormon. We have to do what's in the Book of Mormon and produce the results, the fruit, the consequences. So when it tells you to cut off the head of Laban, No. So let's get into it. I've given you the information previously, but not in a specific video. So this is the specific video for you. 1 Nephi, chapter 14. Nephi is having his tree of life vision and the end of the world, the end of wickedness, the last days, before the millennial reign of peace. And he's talking about a person who also will write, as Nephi is writing, about the last days. And so 21, behold, he shall see and write the remainder of these things, yea, and also many things which have been, and he shall also write concerning the end of the world. Wherefore the things which he shall write are just and true, and behold, they are written in the book which thou beheld proceedeth out of the mouth of the Jew, and at the time they proceedeth out of the mouth of the Jew, or at the time the book proceedeth out of the mouth of the Jew. Notice he's saying out of the mouth of the Jew. Isn't that interesting? The things which were written were plain and pure, and most precious, and easy to the understanding of all men. But behold, the things which this apostle of the Lamb shall write are many things which thou hast seen, and behold, the remainder shalt thou see. But the things which thou shalt see hereafter thou shalt not write. For the Lord God hath ordained the apostle of the Lamb of God that he should write them. And also others who have been, to them hath he shown all things, and they have written them, and they are sealed up to come forth in their purity, according to the truth which is in the Lamb, in their own due time of the Lord, unto the house of Israel. And I, Nephi, heard and bear record that the name of the apostle of the Lamb was John, according to the word of the angel. Now, and behold, I, Nephi, am forbidden that I should write the remainder of the things which I saw and heard. Wherefore the things which I have written sufficeth me, and I have written but a small part of the things which I saw. Well, I don't understand why they couldn't just plagiarize the book of Revelation, as they did Isaiah and Malachi at the end, and the Sermon on the Mount. Had no problem plagiarizing those. Why not Revelation? And so it needs to be understood that the Book of Mormon has an end of the world message for America. Now I need to explain astronomy. We went to astronomy in grade school, at least I did. I hope they teach you astronomy here in Utah in their grade schools. But in astronomy class, we learn about the names of the planets. And when I went to school, Pluto was still considered a planet. It's now considered just a rock floating out in space. Or, I don't know, probably fluctuates back and forth depending on who's in charge of releasing the information. But, yeah, and we learn of their positions in our solar system, and we learn about solar systems, and then we learn that the solar system is a part of the galaxy, and our galaxy is the Milky Way galaxy. And then the universe is made up of all these different galaxies with solar systems within them. And we learn the sizes and the names of the planets, and we don't really get the timing per se. We are aware of basic ones in grade school. As you get older, you learn more about the rates in which they appear to rotate around the Earth, and the rates at which they rotate around the sun, and how it differs according to our view on Earth. And so on Earth we see the various planets, some of them retrograde, which goes back and forth as it appears. So Venus appears to retrograde on our horizon, and Jupiter appears to retrograde in each constellation for a period of a pregnancy, and stuff like that. And then when you get into advanced level astronomy in universities, they'll teach you calculus behind it so that you can use math to determine distance and speed and times and all that type of stuff. And as we've learned with the 21st of August 2017 total solar eclipse, that astronomers are able to determine into the future all the total solar eclipses that will occur and where they will occur as seen from Earth, where the shadow is cast. And likewise, we know of the ones in the past, even when they're not recorded in any books of history. But the reason why is because when you have the knowledge of the math and observations over time confirming, you can then create a computer program, which we now have access to through apps, download programs that allow us to actually see into the past, the present, and the future, seer of the signs in the heavens, as the planets and the sun and the moon rotate around the zodiac as we see it from Earth. And when you get what's called conjunctions, that's a pairing or a group of celestial bodies that are close together. That's called a conjunction. That creates a specific event that's rare enough to date. And the more that's included in a conjunction, the more precise of a date you have. For example, the sun rises at a set time every day and sets at a set time every day. But when you have the moon, which likewise rises and sets at certain times in a 24-hour period, and it also goes through phases where it waxes and wanes repetitively within a 29.4 days. And when the moon is in conjunction with the sun, which is during the new moon. Every new moon, it's by the sun. And that only happens once a month, per se, because it's not exactly a calendar system of 29.4 days. So sometimes we have blue moons. It's a second full moon rather than a new moon in a month. And so if there's double full moons, then yes, there's always going to be double new moons in a particular given month as well. And and so when the latter-day scriptures, such as Revelation and Joel and Matthew 24, they talk about signs in the heavens. Some of them are vague. The sun shall be darkened. Okay. It happens regularly, but it's not every day, obviously. It can only happen when the new moon goes in front of the sun, covers it up from our viewpoint on Earth. And so that's a little bit rarer, but how are we going to know if that's a fulfillment of the prophecy of sun shall be darkened? We need a more specific conjunction. And when we have the moon shall turn to blood or be darkened, well, lunar eclipses. And so we know that it's not the same as solar eclipses, because you can't have a solar and a lunar eclipse at the same time. A new moon is not a lunar eclipse, as much as some people think they're funny. And and so lunar eclipses often happen as much as solar eclipses do. And so again, we're still stuck trying to figure out when can we be certain that lunar eclipses are the latter day fulfillment. So if you remember back in your church history days, 2014 to 2015, Mormons were recognizing the tetrad of lunar eclipses that were occurring on the Jewish Passover and the Jewish Sukkot, or tabernacles. And there were some Mormons who were crying out that this is the sign for the latter days. And the church decided, oh, we're going to put a stop to this. There's no such thing as a second coming. It's all fake news. These Mormons are just trying to make money. And so thus things were put on hold, as they thought. Especially when some of them go and cut up their children into pieces and bury them in the backyard. January is not going to come quick enough for that beast. And so we need something more specific. And since the Book of Mormon is telling us to look to John in Revelation, I think we probably shouldn't we? You'd think, if we're going to do what Doctrine and Covenants told us to do, and not just do, or say and do, but actually fulfill and produce the fruit, accomplish, finish the work which we have been called to do, we should go to John and see if there's anything that we can identify for a specific date. And to skip the research, we're going right to chapter 12, where there are specific conjunctions that we can therefore identify clearly with the Stellarium program or any other kind of program that can help you with the star chart. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. So is it a real woman? Is she wearing a spacesuit? Is she on a spaceship? No, it's a sign in the heaven. And so there's one constellation in the zodiac that represents a woman. Virgo. Wait a minute. A virgin shall conceive and bear a son? Isaiah says that's a sign. Matthew says it's not a sign and doesn't refer it to Isaiah, just says generally it's a prophet who said it. I wonder if this is it. The Catholic Church says it is, but they do not acknowledge this as a sign in the heavens. They say it's a remembrance to the birth of Jesus, like Matthew says. Now, why wouldn't they want it to be a sign in the heavens? Because it gives us a precise date. A woman clothed with the sun. So again, you go back to your astronomy knowledge. The sun rotates through the zodiac as well as rises in the east, sets in the west. And it goes through the whole zodiac in 1 year. That's interesting. Interesting timing. That's quite a coincidence. I wonder if they were factoring that in when they made our calendar. And so the sun is in Virgo from the middle of September to the middle of October. We just experienced that again this year, and we'll experience it again next year. So this is general. This happens every year. But notice we now have a month time frame between the middle of September to the middle of October. The moon under her feet. Well, the moon likewise has to rotate around, and it's faster because instead of taking a year, it takes 29.4 days. And so it can be there twice in that month period, the middle of September to the middle of October. But for the most part, it's just there once in that period. So now we have a potential 1, possibly 2 days in a specific year that we still don't know yet. And then upon her head, a crown of 12 stars. Well, now this requires a little extra knowledge that goes beyond astronomy. Because if we just stick to astronomy, astronomy tells us that on Virgo's head, there's gabillion stars. Virgo itself has gabillion stars. There are stars that we cannot see with the naked eye that telescopes are able to show us. The whole space is filled with lights that just so far away we can't see them with the naked eye. Thus, it looks dark to us because of the distance between them. But as we get telescopes, we're able to see stars depending on how far back they are. And so that is no longer applying for this part, because they're now getting into how the ancients determined the characters representing the constellations. And so upon Virgo's head is Leo the lion. And the ancients designated the constellations by key stars. Obviously there are gabillions, but you designate certain stars, and they don't necessarily form an actual shape of a woman in the heavens. nor do they form an actual lion in the heavens, etc. And it's a cartooning technique. If you look at cartoons, you'll notice that they leave certain details out on features, and our minds naturally put in those features as we're watching the cartoons. So lines will be missing, but our minds fill it in to complete the picture. And this is what they did with the stars, constellations, and what they represent. So Leo the lion is designated as by the ancients with 9 stars. Now I know in 2017, when people also found out, as I did, about 23rd September 2017, oops, I spoiled the ending. There was some fake news coming out that were saying that all the ancients designated 12 stars for Leo. No, they were going by that rather than by what the ancients believed. And it's 9 stars. So what that means is that there are 3 roaming stars, which we call planets, who will join Leo at this sign. So there we have a precise, detailed situation. And so which 3 stars? Well, there are only 5 that are visible planets. And so we have Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And so only 3 of those are necessary for this sign. But he still keeps going. And she being with child. Okay, so there's a planet that retrogrades in Virgo's tummy for a pregnancy period. That's right, Jupiter, as I already told you in the beginning, spoiled it for you. So Jupiter is the child. He's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the great High Priest, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace, the Messiah, the Christ. And his father is Saturn. That requires an understanding of the Romans and the Greeks. They had similar compatible gods and goddesses. Jupiter is Zeus in Greek. And so it's necessary to understand those stories, scriptures of those deities, so as to understand why John is utilizing these particular signs in the heavens, because there are stories being told and scriptures being told with the heavens and the movement of the celestial bodies through the heavens and the conjunctions that occur. And so the Joseph Smith translation moves verse 5 after verse 2 to make it verse 3. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. We now have a full sign here, and that full sign, as I already spoiled for you, is identified as the 23rd of September 2017. Because that's when God, Saturn, is at his throne. His throne is Ophiuchus, the throne of God, the one battling the serpent that's on both ends. And so that eliminates 2 of the 5 planets. We now need 3 for the 12 stars of Leo. Well, that's the 3 remaining: Mercury, Venus, Mars. now we have a precise day and hour for the sign. Sorry, Matthew, but you already gave us the day and the hour in the beginning of your book. Why are you telling us that it's going to happen in the future and that we're not going to know the day or the hour in the future? But this is how astronomy corrects the Bible. I can correct Matthew because he made many errors just because he's either ignorant on astronomy or he's purposely being ignorant on astronomy, trying to deceive people. And 2017 has already come and gone. So now let's go into the Book of Mormon. Let's do one more from Revelation. We're not going to do the other two, one of which Monson died under. Stars falling from the tail. Let's do the white horse prophecy. Does he say sign or wonder? Nope, it's not wonder. There's only 7 white horses, so we should still be able to find it. Revelation, there we go. And, yep, 19, verse 11. And I saw heaven opened. Sign in the heaven. He's telling us directly. And yet, everybody always tries to claim, oh, Jesus is going to fly from outer space to Earth on Pegasus. John says it's a sign, just like Isaiah said it's a sign. Don't take out sign. A sign is never the event. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. Yes, Pegasus. There is a constellation called Pegasus. It's right up above Pisces. Pisces is on the back of Pegasus. And he that sat upon him, the white horse, Pegasus. Okay, so there's going to be a sign on the back of Pegasus. A celestial body event on the back of Pegasus. It's called Faithful and True, and the righteous doth he judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire. Eyes. The Egyptians referred to the eyes of Horus as the sun and the moon. And upon his head were many crowns. And a name written that no man knew. Wait a minute, that's Amun, the Egyptian god, whose name was secret. Who Hathor found out the name and went on a drunken rampage as a cow. I wonder if that has anything to do with this symbolically, and metaphorically, and parable-like. Yes, of course it does. And so, yes. This sign also needs to be kept in your mind. Because we as missionaries, when we went out into the mission field, all spoke of that revelation sign. So let's start with the Book of Mormon, as we are going to be obedient to the commandments so that we are not under condemnation. And here we have Lehi in 1 Nephi chapter 1. He overcome with the Spirit, he was carried away in a vision, even that he saw the heavens open. Oh, just like Revelation and John called it. and saw the heavens opened, and a white horse. But this one's not the white horse one. He thought he saw God sitting upon his throne. Wait a minute, that's Saturn in Ophiuchus. Surrounded with numerous concourses of angels in the attitude of singing, praising their God. And it came to pass that he saw one descending out of the midst of heaven. And he beheld that his luster was above that of the sun at noonday. Well, there you have one descending, which is not God sitting upon his throne, so it's not Saturn, and it's with the sun. And then he saw 12 others following him. Their brightness did exceed that of the stars in the firmament. Now, on earth, they go from east to west, and so they wouldn't be following. Leo doesn't follow Virgo. Virgo follows Leo. However, the stars travel west to east, even though our Earth rotation has them going this way. Kind of a bit tricky. But yes, the stars, the planets, those three others, do end up following instead of leading. And 12 others followed him, and their brightness did exceed that of the stars in the firmament. There you have Revelation chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 5. Or 3 if you use the Joseph Smith revision. And so, now that we know that this is the 23rd of September 2017, this is interesting, because then they take on human characteristics, and the one like the sun, whose name is Ammon from the Egyptians, as Isaiah refers to this child who is conceived and born of a virgin as the name Ammon-El, the god Ammon. Interesting coincidence. And Lehi reads this book and says Jerusalem's going to be destroyed by Babylon. Well, why is he being given the date of 23rd September 2017? About Babylon destroying Jerusalem. Well, obviously it's the actual Jerusalem, right? Certainly it couldn't be the United States of America. But again, we're looking for 3 days of darkness. The Book of Mormon talks about that. Right before, right before the coming of Christ out of space to the land bountiful. So isn't that interesting? But in verse 4, for it came to pass in the commencement of the first year of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah. And in that first year, Lehi sees 23rd September 2017. And that Babylon is going to destroy Jerusalem. Yeah. See how Mormons are under condemnation for not adhering to the Book of Mormon, to not hearkening, to not just saying and doing, but producing the fruits of the Book of Mormon. It's one thing to say to people that the Book of Mormon is true. It's another thing to read the Book of Mormon and learn that you don't commit priestcraft or murder And so that you then follow the good examples rather than the bad examples, you have to actually produce results. The fruits of following the Book of Mormon. And remember, Joseph Smith said the Constitution of the United States would be in jeopardy one day, and that it would be necessary for Mormons to rise up and save America. It's just too bad America, or Mormons, are involved in the coup d'etat of America. They're not adhering to the Book of Mormon warning. They're not following Section 84 that I read to you. They're not producing the fruits of being out of condemnation of the Book of Mormon. And so, if you haven't figured it out, there was a new president put on the throne of America in 2017. And so, right here, 1 Nephi chapter 1 is the year 2017. And sure enough, we now know that the sun shall be darkened begins 2017. But then you're saying, well, what about the 2014, 2015? There was a total solar eclipse in between those. Well, yeah, but it wasn't over America. The lunar eclipses did have something to do with the church, though. After the third lunar eclipse, how many LDS apostles died before the fourth lunar eclipse? That third one being on Saturday morning session of General Conference. Yeah, Perry, Packer, then Scott. And he barely made it. And thus Mormons thought, this is it, this is the end of the world, we're all doomed. Kill your kids. If he doesn't get the death penalty, I'm going to be pissed. And so, yeah, how many planets needed to be added to Leo? 3. How many were added to the Quorum of the Apostles when the 3 died? 3. Not a coincidence, but it's kind of freaky. It's one thing to get the sign, it's another thing to have an event on Earth correspond with the sign in heaven. Freaky. Yeah, like I said, 2017 is confirmed for the solar eclipse as 3 solar eclipses from 2017 to 2024 will occur, because there's one more in 2023 on the 14th or 24th of October, sorry. Can't remember which date. I'll have to refer to it when I put up the picture for you. And it'll be tomorrow morning. This video is already going longer than I was expecting. And so, if you've seen the video I did where Helaman chapter 7 is the year 2020, then yes, you're already going, yeah, I've heard all this, Travis, boring. You've given up and you've shut this off. So only those of you who have not seen the other videos, this is all new to you and you're going, what the hell? But that's why I did the preliminary information for you, is so that, as I don't do the preliminary information in all my videos, a lot of it is stuff you need to understand in advance. And so 3rd Nephi Chapter 11. The 3 days of darkness have occurred, just like they did in the Exodus of Moses, and the plagues of Egypt, during a coronavirus in Egypt, killing the firstborn of Pharaoh. And so, yes, in 3rd Nephi, chapter 11, all of us missionaries read this to investigators as we inform them about the Book of Mormon and try to get them excited to read it. And now it came to pass that there were a great multitude gathered together. This is the destruction had already occurred. The coup d'etat in 2020 has already occurred, Helaman 7, and now we're in the aftermath. That there's a multitude gathered together of the people of Nephi. Now, if you understand your Mormon prophecies, there's supposed to be an exodus from Utah of Mormons, as well as there's going to be a gathering of the remainder elect from around the earth to Zion, around the temple which was in the land bountiful. There it is, Zarahemla, or not Zarahemla, Zion, and the temple in Zion. And don't have those built, do we? We're running out of time, aren't we? Because we're about to get a sign from Revelation. And they were marveling and wondering one with another, and great wonders, conversing about this Jesus Christ, of whom the sign had been given concerning his death. There's a sign in the heaven concerning his death. I wonder what the sign in the heaven concerning his death is. Well, we're about to find out. Oh, here we have Heavenly Father, Father Amen, not Son Amen. Did you Mormons know about that? In Adam on die, Amen. He says, "Behold, my Son of Mary, in whom I am well pleased." Beloved is the Egyptian word for, or the Egyptian translation, or the translation of the Egyptian word for Mary. "In whom I am well pleased, in whom I glorified my name, hear ye him." And then here we go with the sign in the heavens. "And it came to pass, as they understood and cast their eyes up again towards heaven, and behold." So their heavens are opened, they're looking into space, and they saw a man descending out of heaven, just like Lehi saw in his dream. But no 12 guys wearing a white robe. It's associated with the sign of his death. Now again, government, religion, an eclipse, solar, lunar. They signify death or collapse of government or religion. Death of a king, death of a prophet. Lunar eclipses, deaths of Perry Packer Scott, and I can even go back to Faust and Hinckley and Monson and Hales wasn't. Well, maybe no. I'd have to refer back. He might have, if plus or minus a month, but all under lunar eclipses. I'd have to fact check me on Hales, but that was the first thing I tested when Faust died. I found out about the lunar eclipse. I went, oh, isn't that interesting? His death corresponded with a lunar eclipse. That's the religious version of what I was told from the ancient Assyrian documents that talked about a king who went to war against a far eastern country from Assyria, who he experienced a solar eclipse during the battle. And so I'd known about the ancients and how they understood and interpreted eclipses. And here I was, recognizing that, hey, Hinckley, he's now dead, and oh, there's another eclipse. That's an interesting coincidence. It's plus or minus 1 month period. Okay. Because when you're doing observations, you have to take these into consideration to see if there's a pattern. And sure enough, there is. So the 2014-2015, that was a big one for me, because I was like, the first one comes, nothing. Second one comes, nothing. Third one comes, oh crap. And so yes, Jupiter comes from outer space and talks to the Nephites. And this is the sign of his death, because in 2024, on the back of the white horse, which is Pegasus, in the constellation of Pisces, is a total solar eclipse. The fire that burns with a total solar eclipse, etc. And as John says, he comes from outer space. And this is what they're talking about here in 3rd Nephi. He comes from outer space. And it's not the sign of 2017. And it's not Helaman 7, which is 2020. It's 2024. This is it. Because what does he do? He makes Nephi the Christ to rule and reign for the Nephite millennial reign of peace. And then so this is what the Book of Mormon is telling us. They're giving us the time frame of the latter days. It's a 7-year time frame, 2017 to 2024. And obviously there's others before, stuff that needs to be done after. But the time frame the Book of Mormon gives us. 1 Nephi chapter 1, 2017, and here we are, 3 Nephi chapter 11, 2024. And so as you read through the Book of Mormon, you then get to Nephi seeing the birth of Jesus, and you have to understand it as 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 2, the learning of the Jews. So it's not during the Roman period. You're looking for an actual human. So when Joseph Smith in 103 verse 16 says, "A man like Moses from among my people who are Mormons will cause an exodus and gather the elect from the earth." That's what you need to look for. Don't impose your Christianized Mormon concept of Jesus as you read through the Book of Mormon. You will be wrong. I had to ban yet another person. He never subscribed, but he was pretending to like my videos and kept pushing me to do a certain meme. I don't take requests for memes. But today he, after watching several of my videos by now, came out and said, "Jesus Christ is coming soon." He hasn't been paying attention. Because like I said, 2024 is when Zion and the temple are to be built, which means he's already an adult. If his birth is 2017, he would be 7 years old. So yes, 2017 is not his birth. It's the sign of his birth. And the sign of his death is 2024. So, how will we know how old he is? Well, the Exodus is the freedom from captivity, which is the Jubilee for the Jews, learning of the Jews, and he would be 50 years old, therefore, in 2020. And I've gone through the birth date and the name of this Christ in the video that I've now taken down as the homepage video. So, good luck finding it now, as YouTube gives you struggles to find my videos. But there you go. That's how you fulfill the Book of Mormon, so that you're not under condemnation anymore.